have the honor of participating in this debate representing the Council of the Union, since the High Representative has the honor of chairing the two formations of the Council related with foreign affairs and security and defense. Allow me to continue in Spanish. Seguridad y defensa.
Security and defense and external policy, foreign policy, are going through particularly important moments in the European project. The war in Ukraine, the war against Ukraine, represents a very important moment. It's about Europeans waking up and facing a security crisis that pinpoints our shortcomings and the energy dependence that we were aware of, but we weren't aware of how big it was, and a geopolitical position in the world that also illustrates that there is a problem in this divided world, and this is stemmed from the war. I would like to touch upon these three issues. The European Council, under the leadership and presidency of Mr. Michel, gave us a set of guidelines as guiding principles for the Commission and the Council. When it comes to diplomatic action, we are developing work in order to achieve three goals. First of all, to isolate Russia, to isolate it from the international community. Secondly, we want to bring the international community together in order to defend the basic principle of a rules-based order. And thirdly, we want to make sure that this conflict doesn't lead to a divided world around a new Cold War that pits the West, as Beijing and Moscow saw, against the new alliance of autocrats, with a group of emerging countries that are trying to sit on the fence, but that many, let us admit it, are actually taking Russia's side, are leaning towards Russia's side. Against this backdrop, there has been international action, and we have achieved two great diplomatic successes in the UN, two big votes with an overwhelming majority that has condemned Russia and that has defended the human rights of the Ukrainian people. But we have to tread very carefully in analyzing how solid this majority is and what the positions of the great powers that haven't condemned Russia are. This means that we have to look at the world and see it the way it is, and not look at it through our eyes, but through their eyes, in order to understand the reasons behind this attitude. A Spanish poet said that the world is the color of the crystal through which we look at it, and so therefore we have to put on the glasses that others are wearing in order to better understand it. We have to use the crystal that others are using in order to better understand it. So we have the strategic compass that has been adopted. Thank you for reminding us, Mr. Michel. And this is in order to improve and increase our capabilities in this field, because this crisis has highlighted our shortcomings in the field of defense and security. Since 2008, with the beginning of the Euro crisis, Europeans have been disarming with the lowest point in 2014. Since, we have been increasing our military capabilities. We're talking about 1.5% of GDP, with all countries together. We have been used to living under the protective umbrella of the United States and have felt that being NATO members was enough to solve all our problems. There is no alternative to NATO for the territorial defense of Europe. Let us say this very clearly. However, we've got to shoulder our responsibility, and we've got to do our bit as well. We've got to put an end to a certain degree of the lack of responsibility of Europeans when it comes to defense and security. It would be a serious mistake if there were an increase in defense proportionally. Because this would be squandering money, because we would be worsening the current overlaps and duplications, and we would make the current gaps and shortcomings worse. We have to do this properly in order to harness the potential of those who contribute. It's not about spending more, but about spending better. We have to continue defending Ukraine. Only a few days ago, a member of this chamber told me that we had to put an end to the war as soon as possible. And in order to end the war, the best possible would be to stop providing arms to Ukraine, that we had to end the war as soon as possible. But when the war comes to an end, how does it end? Yes, the sooner the better, but not in just any way. We're very interested in how this war is going to end, because if we're going to have a destroyed country that has been dismembered territorially and neutralized, with millions of people in exile and millions of people dead, then no, we don't want this war to end like this. And in order to make sure that this doesn't happen, we have to continue supporting Ukraine. The speaker pauses. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We don't want this war to end like this. We want it to end as soon as possible, but not in any way. And that is why we have to continue arming Ukraine. We need less rounds of applause and more assistance. We want to say less that Mr. Zelensky is a hero and give more weapons. That is what the Ukrainians expect of us, and that is what we are doing. And we have to do more of this and more quickly. More pressure on Russia and to arm Ukraine more. We have to help them defend themselves and make sure that we do everything we can to help them. We have given Ukraine €1 billion. Might seem a lot, but €1 billion is what we pay Putin every day for the energy he provides us. Since the beginning of the war, we have given him €35 billion. Compare that to the 1 billion that we have given to the Ukraine in arms and weapons. This gigantic difference has to highlight the importance and need of implementing what the Council asked it to do. We have to reduce energy dependence, and there's no doubt about the fact that the Commission will be a trailblazer and will lead this and will put forward the necessary measures to achieve this. Today we put an end to coal, but this is only a small part of the bill, a small share. Our independence, our energy autonomy hinges on developing renewable energies, and climate change and geopolitics actually go hand in hand for the first time. So I would like to insist on a key point. Europeans have to become aware of the world that we live in. We account for 5% of the global population. 5%. We accounted for 25% at the end of the previous big war. We are surrounded by a circle of instability from Gibraltar to the Caucasus, with a population that is twice as young as we are, and we are strongly dependent in the field of energy. We are poor, old, and dependent. Not a good recipe for the future. We're just a handful, we are poor, and we're elderly. This is not good for the future. We have to become younger, we have to exert more influence, we have to have more capabilities to defend our principles and our values, and we have to harness all the powerful means we have to bring our influence to bear on the world stage and make sure that what the member states represent and what the Commission represents is coordinated. And thank God we have the European Union. If we didn't have the European Union, we would have to invent it. Because what would happen to each and every member state today if they stood alone? What would happen with even the biggest and most powerful, if it had to stand alone in the new world that is approaching? That is why our unity, the unity of all Europeans, is the huge asset we have and that we are forging, and it has to be our guiding principle, our compass, to take us down the right path. We're talking about political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion, the best possible combination the world has ever built. This is welcome, but Europeans will have to defend this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
High Representative Borrell, I now invite the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, to take the floor.